Hello, my name is Lee Bauman. I am going to read from Medusa of Time, How Technology Redefines Copenhagen. And I will be reading from the foreword. Physicists recognize that a photon or light particle travels at the finite speed of 186,000 miles per second. Yet quantum mechanics, thanks to the genius of Albert Einstein, states that time stops at the speed of light and imbues the wave of light with infinite speed. Although Einstein's proposal existed as theory back in 1985, it exists as proven and accepted fact today. These two differing but proven speeds for the mysterious photon illustrate one of the obvious conundrums within the field of quantum mechanics. Hence, physicists question why it is that at one moment they measure the photon at 186,000 miles per second and another at infinity. This book will argue that this discrepancy exists simply by determining whether the said observation and speed was made within the dimension of time. My research indicates that if the photon or light wave is measured within the dimension of time, it is observed to travel at 186,000 miles per second as a particle. The world in which we live is a material or particulate one. When the photon's behavior is observed as occurring outside of time, that is, as a wave, scientists establish that it is everywhere at once, or in other words, at infinite speed. We know that the dimension of time is real. We experience it every moment of our lives. We as humans are trapped within the dimension of time. Yet science experiments have allowed us to expose light's ability to exist outside of time. Through science, we know that the mysterious photon may exist both within and outside of time, just as Einstein's special theory predicted. This text will outline how this observation is equally true for particulate and macroscopic objects of any size. Science experiments have already shown that this holds true for microscopic objects like electrons, atoms, and even large molecules. In 1924, Louis de Broglie demonstrated that the same must hold true for macroscopic objects of all sizes. Every particulate or material object has an associated wave, just like the photon. For his research, de Broglie won the Nobel Prize in 1929. By extending de Broglie's corollary to the dimension of time, I realized that all waves, whether of microscopic or macroscopic objects, must also exist outside of time, just like the light wave. Similarly, all particles, whether of microscopic or macroscopic objects, must also exist within time. Our very existence, restricted to the dimension of time, dictates that we can experience our reality only as defined by matter and particles. Even when we measure the existence of waves in scientific experiments, such as through wave interference, we do so retroactively and by observing the wave's previous behavior. We actually measure this past behavior, however, as particles. There is no longer the need to demonstrate that the Higgs boson or God particle renders the property of mass to particles. I contend rather that it is the dimension of time. In 1990, Itano et al. conducted a classic experiment at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, otherwise known as the NIST, which represents a major advance in the worldview of the Copenhagen Interpretation of quantum physics. The Copenhagen Interpretation views the wave-particle nature of any object as a combination of both wave and particle, until an experimenter performs a measurement or observation. At the moment of the measurement, something unusual occurs that defines whether the object was a wave or a particle. Although this statement may not sound very profound, it would take a good many years for many physicists to understand its full implications. The claim that the mere act of human observation could alter the progress of any scientific experiment certainly caught my attention. The NIST experiment represented just one additional, impossible facet involving the mysterious field of quantum physics and the role that observation has upon our four-dimensional reality. Some physicists believe that human consciousness is the critical element in this observation process that defines whether an object is measured as a wave or a particle. Many just plead a factual, who knows? As already noted, my research indicates that an entirely unrelated element is the critical defining factor for whether something exists as a wave or a particle. That is, the ill-defined dimension of time. As I reflect upon the first sentences of this book, I recall how my first attempts at processing even the basic elements of quantum physics had a learning curve of many years, beginning for me in the 1970s. By the year 1999, I had written the first rough draft of my first book, God at the Speed of Light, which dealt with the supernatural ramifications of this relatively new field. As God at the Speed of Light demonstrated, the metaphysical ramifications of quantum mechanics nicely complement and reinforce the traditional views of the world's major religions. Science no longer opposes spirituality, but supports it. Back in the mid-1970s, I was an atheist because of science. Today I stand as a relentless advocate for the existence of a higher power for the same reason. Science has always been my truest compass. Yet I remain astonished that the field now supports the very existence of that which I once thought impossible, that is, the existence of God. My spiritual evolution has taken me through a fulfilling and rewarding vocational cycle from atheist physician to believer to writer to even cruise ship enrichment lecturer. Through my travels, I have met the most fascinating people from all walks of life, cultures, and economies of scale. I continue to learn from these remarkable personal interactions and consider myself the richer for it. God has placed our human race within this unique, four-dimensional realm for a reason. Learning, growing, making mistakes, and adaptation are all part of the process. We have witnessed this type of growth cycle in the civil rights struggles in the United States and in the apartheid era in South Africa. Yet, despite these conflicts, our human race is learning and changing for the better. It is a slow and painful process, but there is reason for hope. I can offer one personal example of my optimism from when I was in South Africa, where I spent a month volunteering in 2012. My Afrikaans language instructor told me that it was considered rude if you did not say hello to everyone you passed on the streets of Cape Town, South Africa. I immediately sought clarification. Everyone, I asked, incredulously aware of how uncommon this practice was in the United States. Yes, everyone was the unequivocal response. So I did the test. During my next walk into Rondebosch, a popular shopping area outside the city, I made a point of saying hello to everyone I passed on the street. I was astonished. Despite the past history of oppression from apartheid and the abject poverty of many of these proud people, everyone made eye contact, smiled, and responded with either a hello or molo. I should point out that there were exceptions. The tourists. Few foreigners responded in kind. As I retell the story, most tourists looked at me like I had two heads. I was still learning. There are reasons for hope in our future, and education is playing a well-recognized, crucial role. Our rapidly advancing technology is catalyzing an ever-expanding growth in education for anyone with access to the internet. I am especially impressed by the rapid expansion in scientific knowledge of the various people I have met around the world, most notably the children. The average person in this modern, internet-connected world is smarter than I ever was at the corresponding age. Recently, at a Trivia of Our Solar System lecture that I conducted, a young 9-year-old Hispanic girl accurately answered that Venus was one of our solar system's 2 planets that spins in a direction opposite to that of the Earth. The other is Uranus. How many people know that? At that age, I barely knew what a planet was. I have no doubt that this young girl knew the answer. The only previous response to my question had been the alternate correct answer of Uranus by a well-educated adult. This young girl had tugged at her mother's blouse for a translation of my question, and again to convey her response. Perhaps and hopefully science is making a comeback in our schools. No one doubts that our children hold the key to the future. As you might guess, I am a staunch proponent of education. From the sales of all my books, all the proceeds go to one of my God at the Speed of the Light college scholarships throughout the southeastern United States. Next to my family, these scholarships represent my proudest achievement. If this book stimulates in any small way added interest in the field of science, I will have achieved my goal. Thank you.